Hello everybody, welcome. My name is Master Juniper Bloom Mystique. I am an Ascension Master, a Master Healer, and a Divine Guide. Today I want to talk about something important. We've recently had a push for fear for this month. We've recently had a push for, right, like with the 3 days of darkness, with the assassinations, death and loss, and oh my gosh, we're all going to go into 3 days of darkness on September 23rd, and all of these things. And I want to talk about the purpose behind that and why that's not something we really want to focus on. Okay. Spirit showed me that some of us are getting different information with the 3 days of darkness. Some of us will have different experiences because we choose to rise out of that blueprint. What we focus on matters, right? And with the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, the whole world paid attention to that because it was a big push for fear. I don't want to say to mock death. That's not what I'm talking about here. May he rise in peace. I said that. But I didn't want to capitalize on his death. A lot of people joined in and wanted to talk about it, wanted to be a part of that, but I didn't. The only thing I did was created a healing video, and I posted that in the commentary, the community section of YouTube, because I wanted to heal anything that may have caused. And there's a reason for that, okay? And I told you recently is that we're not going into the 3 days of darkness right now, but what we need to realize is we should be shifting now, okay? Who I am is, I do the work of the return. I have been doing the work of return since 2019. Clearing Mount Shasta, activating pyramids, freeing Jesus' soul, undoing the Holy Grail. But there's so much shadow, so much judgment, and so much fear that we can't see past that, okay? And so just as in Charlie Kirk's death, just as in everything that's happening, there's a purpose behind it, to keep you in a cyclic lower vibration cycle, right as when it's time to rise. Okay. When I undid the Sistine Chapel, which you guys, these videos I talk about are all on this channel. Okay. So I encourage you to watch them because there's a lot to them. And when I undid the Sistine Chapel, God showed me that it is time to rise. Okay. They're exposing who the darkness is so that we can be free and rise. Not to create fear, not to create anguish, not to create judgment, because all of those are a lie. Okay? Fear is false evidence appearing real. That's what creates fear. You allow false things to appear to be real, and you go into fear, and death is one of those. Okay, I talk a lot about this. I talk a lot about not picking up fear. I talk a lot about how you cannot pick up judgment. Part of the ways to rise is letting go of these lies. And I will spark your shadow. I see this happen so many times. People come to my lives, people come to my things, and they bring their judgments. They don't want to see the work of God because the fear blueprint and the judgment is so loud. Okay? And if you want to understand the universe, Tesla said it, everybody says it that can understand that, is that we are vibrations. Okay, manifesting is vibrations. If I'm in fear, I'm going to continue creating fear. And I don't even like the word manifesting because that's still outside of you. We are creators. Everything is within us. Our vibrational frequency within resonates and matches our world and the external. Okay? And, during the return work, during the actual path of the work, it was really hard for people not to want to bring that blueprint with them. All the way up into recent times, I had to clear my energy again from this need to take power, from this need to bring that fear with them or trauma with them. And it blinds us all. Okay? Fear and trauma is blinding. Now, it's a lie. And I talk about all the time how even in death, there is no fear. If you're connected, if you're really rising, if you're part of the ethereal connection, the attunement flow, there is no fear in death. The only fear is false evidence appearing real, that there's an end. There really isn't an end. Okay? Even my twin soul, who he was, did die. He became something else. But he didn't end. He just became something else. Right? So who he was is gone. He is no longer. So he did die. But he became something else. And that's not normal. As a soul, we generally don't become something else. We just go into a different energy field. Okay? And as far as Charlie Kirk goes, he chose his exit. We all choose when we leave. I did a healing on my mom's dog recently. And she was elderly and very ill. And I told her, I was like, she wants to hang on for a little while, you know, she wants to live. And her body needed to accept the healing. But I heard her as a spirit saying, I want to stay for a little while. I'm not quite ready to go. I'm hanging on, you know. So she had a choice. Even animals have a choice of when they go. That's why when I do healings on people, it's like we don't understand what true miraculous healing is. Because if you don't accept it and you judge it or you fear what I say, because I see all kinds of things within your body, from all things, medical to physical to emotional, whatever. And if I say something and it sparks fear in them, they're going to block that healing. Okay? So there is miraculous healing, but it has to go through you, right? You have free will. We all have free will. So even the most traumatic events, at some level, your soul is aware or accepts the change. There are times where it's traumatic and maybe the soul isn't fully ready to go, or the body isn't fully ready to end that journey. But there are layers to that exit point. We have exit points, okay? So with that assassination, with everything that's going on, I didn't want to capitalize on it because I don't want to gain money off of a loss. To me, that's not pure money of love and light. I would not want to push that fear. Just like why I did a video and I'm like, is the Pope really talking about the 3 days of darkness? And then God showed me that some people, even in the religious sector, especially in the religious sector, are going to see the 3 days of darkness as dark and fear. And don't open your windows, close your doors, don't go outside. And God never said anything like that to me. Is the 3 days of darkness real? Yes. What it is basically like Judgment Day, but God doesn't judge. That's another lie. It's just an inability to not hide anymore. It's a cleansing and a purging. It's being tested in the end of times. It's also a fall of a false system grid. So there are a few layers to it, but God always has said, don't worry about the darkness that comes. Focus on the light, okay? So he never pushed fear, because those of us that are rising, there is no fear. There is nothing to fear. We know we are in the light. We know we are safe. We know we are aligned, okay? Because we are choosing love. We are choosing love, and there is no separation, right? So the reason this 3 days of darkness was being pushed tenfold, it was, number one, a test, God is saying, for the collective soul. Because if you're going to pick up the fear, then you're not ready to rise. Okay. Number two, it was to push that fear. Okay, to push that fear, to push that anguish, to push an end. And God says it's not the apocalypse. There is a wrath because it's a karmic kickback. Okay, and you know that if you watched me undoing the Holy Grail, returning the light, returning Christ's blood. That mattered for undoing the Holy Grail and what it really was. His blood did have to be cleansed, okay? And so it had to cleanse the earth and return back to its rightful owner. These things, Sekhmet and Horus, she was assassinated at the waterfall over the Nile, over this energy. She was beheaded. Okay, so you talk about red water, blood in the water. Some of what they told you was manipulated and changed to suit their ego, their power grid. And it's all lies. So there is a karmic kickback, but only for those who were a part of that creation and choose not to heal out of it. Okay? You have to choose to heal out of that separation, that lack, that fear grid. Okay? This assassination created a lot of anger and a lot of talk about it. People anchored into that and ran with it. Okay. And I put a video out to heal. I did a Ho'oponopono channel from God, and I put it in my communities tab, and barely anybody wanted to do that. Everybody, though, will grab onto the, oh gosh, it's fear. 3 days of darkness. And this is where we've been at in humanity. Wars, all of this cyclic patterning is created through fear, division, separation, and lack. And they're all lies. They are everything that holds you back. Okay? We are vibrational frequencies. That's why the most important thing to do is to see that everything is a reflection of you. If you are seeing something in your external, or if you're seeing judgment when I speak to you, if you're seeing fear in any of these things, it shows you what you need to heal. Because if it doesn't match your internal vibration, you will not see it in the external. Okay? So I didn't just ignore the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I won't play in it because it's fear. He didn't die. He was free. He just chose to leave. For a reason, okay? For a reason. To help, to whatever his soul purpose is, okay? As a soul, as a species, we're well aware. On the other side is our higher self. There is no separation. There is agreements. There is contracts. There is lessons to learn, okay? And so within the lessons to learn, things do happen, and we're aware of that. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It is a lie. It is something your mind convinces you and your body picks up and you're like, yep, that's going to happen. It's a lie, and it's a temptation. Death, this push of death and fear, this push of the end times, right when we're supposed to rise. Because if you pick up that, if you're still in the cyclic patterning of that, you can't rise in these energies. The only true currency is love, not trauma. Okay, I've met a lot of people who do want to focus on trauma, and they want to use it as their tool. You know, they want you to validate their trauma, and I won't do that. I'm here to validate love and heal it for you. I will validate you in it for a moment to heal it and clear it. Okay. I have again recently had to clear my energy and detach from extremely lower vibrational things. And I tell people all the time, I can only hold space for so long. And if you keep pulling me down, I'll have to let you go. Because we have to rise. Okay, we cannot stay in fear. We cannot stay in this cyclic patterning of lie and false timelines. False timelines. God would never give us a time. I know the work that I did. I remember when I was doing it, God's like asking me what I wanted, and I'm like, I just want everybody to ascend. And he's like, but they have free will. We can't force them to hear. We can't force them to see, and we can't force them to choose to rise. Because I knew what I was doing was changing the world. Truly knew that. Not a shadow of a doubt. And if you watched my work, you would know that too. You can't undo the Holy Grail, clear Mount Shasta, activate the pyramids, masculine and feminine, rebuild the crystalline grid, and bring Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet and Horus back together, rebirthing new earth, processing the death of the old earth, all of these things without big changes. And change alone creates fear within people because it's a fear of a false evidence. That it's false evidence they create in their mind from bringing the past forward. Well, it's going to be like this. It's going to be what we've always known. No, it's not. People push the apocalypse. They push the fear of God. I heard that in a video yesterday. Oh, it's going to put the fear of God in you. So help me, Lord. Like, that is the worst thing you could possibly say. There is no fear in God. That's religion. Religion put the fear of God in people. And that's a lie, and it's very hurtful. Because God would never push fear, which is why he would never tell you, oh, by the way, on this day you're going to die. Can your soul see it? You can tune into it. But God would never tell you on this day, close your doors, lock your windows, start doomsday prepping. I have never heard that from God, and I know what I did. Because we're going to have a different experience. I'm not focusing on the loss. I'm focusing on healing. Love, healing, rising, choosing to see what I need to clear so it doesn't take my power away anymore. And that is why it's so important that even when somebody like Charlie Kirk passes, we cannot just sit here and as a collective whole allow that to create fear. Enjoy what we had with him, recognize who he was, play his older videos, yes, love. You can say goodbye in this physical realm, but the new earth is about removing separation from our soul. Did you know I put on my channel a video to allow people to see if they were soul path aligned? You have to be soul path aligned. Recently, I'm going through this workshop that I'm going to upload all of them at the same time, the reunification with the Lyrans, and that's what's kind of happening to us at this time, is all these lights coming in, these ethereal expansion happening, because it's not just earth expanding, right? And in that, I say everything I say matters. I also talked about, and this was done a year ago, I talked about the golden rainbow path. And in my painting recently of the end of ways, the end of days, some would call it, depends on your lens, it was my DM and I in the end. So you have volcanoes erupting, massive earth shifting and volcanoes erupting, all the light returning from Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Sekhmet and Horus, so mass awakening applied, all the light returning, that's what's happening. And then we go into the golden path through the eye of the sun, the final portal home. Okay, that's how it's going to play out for some of us. There's no fear in that. There's no wrath for me, right? There is nothing that I need to doomsday prepping. Like, come on, I have water, but water we can't survive without, and that's just in case, right? And not a lot either. The false energy grid falls, I know I'll be okay somehow, right? I have no fear. There's no fear because I can listen to my guides. But the golden rainbow path, your soul path, that's what that talks about. Do you know what the golden rainbow path is? It's your soul path, okay? We have to do the work to fully align with who we are. We cannot be in separation anymore. Separation is lack, fear, false timelines, ego, greed, judgment. You know how many people come here and judge me every day? They don't even watch the actual work, and I don't say a lot different than other people say. The only difference is I'm showing you the work that I did of undoing the Holy Grail. But you can have a false prophet that's out there going, oh, I'm Jesus, and he gets like mass attention. But when you actually show the truth, people can't see it. Their judgment gets really loud, their fear gets really loud, false timelines get really loud, and that's the cyclic patterning we have to free ourselves from. Okay? Somebody came here and said, oh, every time I look at you, it looks like you're struggling really bad. Well, you don't know that I was just attacked again by somebody who rose through the path. And I had to clear that energy. And once I cleared that energy, I could see where I was blinded again. And now I'm realigning my path, because you have to be soul path aligned. So Spirit told me, not only did I bring about the changes, I have to bring through the modalities. Okay? So Reiki is one of them. You have to understand that all modalities that were on old earth were in a division pattern. They were not brought through the masculine and feminine. We had all these different modalities where we're supposed to align to the totality of who we are, right? We all have access to all these things. So now that I've brought through the ascension, I have to bring through the modalities. And for some reason, as I was being brought down by this energy of this person who refused to clear their own shadow, wanted to take my power. They love doing that since Eve. Spirit had to show me, we had to clear it, I had to detach from their energy, and then I realized I wasn't supposed to go to school. I did a healing on my son the other day, okay? And, you know, as a mother, I know I have a therapist background, I know I have a psychology degree, I know I have all this stuff, but when my children need help, I get them all the help I can. Okay, so I'll put them in therapy, and then I will also heal them, and I will also do all these other things, because sometimes we need an outside perspective other than our madre, you know, other than our mother. So I did that, and they were telling my son he needed EMDR, and I'm like, okay. So I did a healing on him, because I do healings on my kids all the time, and this was just the other day. And literally, I channeled through EMDR healing for him, and Spirit's like, see, you don't need school. And the light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how much that person blinded me. This is how much they kicked me off my soul path, because I was holding space for them too long. Okay? We can't hold space for trauma, and we can't hold space for fear, and we can't continue to do that. If you cannot choose in the moment to clear those and see that they're a reflection of you and showing you what you need to heal, then you won't rise, because we don't have time for the fear blueprints. We don't have time for trauma blueprint, and we don't have time for false timelines. We have to truly choose the difference between the two. Okay, nope, I choose love. I know we're all connected. I choose to gain that new perspective and rise. And Spirit's like, look, dude, you didn't need, it's through you. And I'm like, oh my God, I was doing my academy, the New Earth Light Healers Academy, level 2. And I was channeling Reiki sigils. That's the thing about Reiki, let me tell you. So I had to learn Reiki after I was channeling New Earth Reiki, okay? Because something was always wrong with Reiki. And I'm like, this is why I was never drawn to do Old Earth modalities, because I'm not Old Earth, I'm New Earth. And I was like, it's just what it is. You know, I'm not bad mouth, it's just what it is. But they have symbols in Reiki that you're supposed to, it connects you to the energy. It doesn't provide the healing for the person. It connects you to the energy grid to give them that healing. And I'm like, I just already see that grid. It's who I am as a master healer. Like, it's already innate. It's in me. So I never understood that. And you'll see a lot of Reiki practitioners putting out the symbols as if it's healing you, but really they haven't mastered that level yet. Okay? So as the New Earth Reiki, or what God calls Oshai Healing, which is through the descendant of the sun, right? We have to do it through the masculine and feminine now. Has to be, because that's what's returned. Okay? Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet and Horus. So I channel sigils. Those are totally different. Those are intentional healing thingies. They're intentional healing grids. They are our blueprint of communication with Spirit. Okay? So it's totally different. So I have all these sigils that I'm channeling and truly bringing you into the wholeness of the self. There's no separation. We should be able to access every modality through that light. Right? And then you have ones that you relate to more. So not only do we have to let go of the false blueprints, we have to bring modalities into New Earth. So I hear people judging me all the time and going, yeah, I tell them, hey, you need to align with this. There's this in you. And then they go outside. They mock me, but they hear that part. And then they go outside trying to do an old world modality. And it's like, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to rise into the totality of who you are. And if you think you can bypass God or the one or the sun and the moon, the DM and the masculine and feminine, you are sorely mistaken. That's the matrix blueprint. It's all about taking that power for personal gain. And we can't do that anymore. So there's a reason there's this big push for this fear, for death. This assassination created big fear and loss because it's a very low vibration. So I put out these things like, hey, if you want to know if your soul path aligned, that's the way home. Barely anybody watched it. Hey, let's heal this hurt. I don't want to capitalize on a death, so I didn't want to mention his name too much. But I could feel in the collective what's bringing us down, so let's heal it. Barely anybody touched it. The grid that we're on Earth is way too low, which is what's going to cause major events to happen to the Earth, because people are not carrying enough of that light of the return. Okay, we need to come into light. We need to come into love. We need to release separation, trauma, fear, ego, greed, judgment, because there's no separation. I don't have to fear about money. I know whatever I need will line up. Yeah. A lot of people don't support the work that I do, even if I'm in alignment with God and I'm in alignment with my soul path. A lot of people would rather bring their shadow into this work and judge me, which hurts the path. It hurts the light. It hurts the vibration. So I get to work the crisis line from time to time. I start again on Monday. But then I realized I don't need school. To be a hypnotherapist is already in my DNA. I have to bring it into New Earth. I have degrees. But modalities have to be brought through the divine masculine and the divine feminine and into New Earth, and we will access them through the lay of the land, through the one, the sun, and the moon only. You cannot be separation and division anymore. We cannot be duality anymore. Okay? So the reason when God said when I undid the Sistine Chapel is that it's time to rise now, and we have all these people pushing the fear of God, we have this death happening, we have, oh gosh, September 21st or the 23rd, I don't know, I've heard both, we're going to have the 3 days of darkness, and God's like, no fear. When God showed me when I was octavizing the pyramids, which is shoving the sun through the pyramids and into the core of the earth and shifting the earth into new earth, I got a vision of 3 horses coming out of the sky with gods on them. And God showed me that that was the 3 days of darkness. And he said, don't fear when the darkness rises. Do not fear the darkened sky. Some of us will remain calm in that time. We'll know it's just a cleansing. There's nothing to be afraid of. I'm not dying, I'm rising. Right? It's a difference in perspective. Okay? So things like Charlie Kirk, he's exposing. Okay, I told you Trump was here to expose, and he was a part of that. And sometimes we need big shakeups to see that we're not aligned. So if you focus and you capitalize on that, how many people capitalized on that for numbers? Lots. And I didn't want to touch that. So instead I just did a healing, a Ho'oponopono prayer channeled from God for all of us to heal that heartache and grief. Because there was grief from that. But you know what? There was also a school shooting the same day that nobody talked about. I think in Evergreen, Colorado, close to my home. There was a school shooting that day. Did anybody talk about that? No. And I just got chills. So there is loss every day. Right? Fear and loss. Right? Instead of fearing all these school shootings, I just took my power back and put my kids in homeschool. And right before COVID hit, Spirit's like, don't be afraid, homeschool them. I'm like, all right. So I did. And then all crap hit the fan, and schools are just not the same. I don't know about you, but I'm like, okay, because stuff got exposed as well. And when I undid the judicial system, after I undid the Sistine Chapel, the school system was connected. Okay. So I'm like, Spirit always knows what's best. My job is to co-create with Spirit and not darkness. So we cannot focus on the fear. We cannot focus on death. We cannot focus on all these false things because there's free will. You have free will. Okay, you had choices to be there. You had choices. The only time our free will is not fully developed is when we are children. That's who we should be protecting. And we failed as a nation to do that. Not that I can stop all human trafficking, although I did because I changed the earth. It is ending, which is why it's being exposed through Hollywood and through the government and all of that. And religion was actually, when I undid the Sistine Chapel, God told me that religion was the biggest sex trafficking place that there was. So we think it's Hollywood, but religion has them beat. Did you know that? So, we have to gain our perspective. God is not about fear. Some of us are going to look at this as in times as, oh gosh, the world, we're all going to be in trouble, right? Like bad apocalypse type stuff. And God is like, don't fear. And people like in religion and things, like I've heard it multiple times being pushed of close your windows, close your doors, don't look outside. God never told me that. God tells me do not fear. There is no fear. Don't worry about the changes. Focus on the light. I am right by your side. That's what God says. But see, the difference is I co-create with God. I make sure I'm soul path aligned and I eliminate anything that is not. That golden rainbow, you have to be soul path aligned. And I showed that painting that I just finished. It was a 3-part painting of the white buffalo. It's supposed to be hundreds of buffalo fleeing the volcanoes that are erupting. This is the sign that the end is here, the end of old earth, the end of the darkness duality. Okay, this is new earth coming in, and it's causing big eruptions in the earth. And because mankind is so saturated in the lower vibrational tendencies, it's gonna hit earth harder. There's nothing I can do about it. People would rather judge God and fear God, or want so desperately to hold on what they're familiar with. They don't want to change. That homeostasis will battle you, right? So change is hard. And so they hold on to the blueprint they know. That's what's going to cause the earth to have bigger eruptions, bigger earthquakes, bigger volcanoes, because we're focusing on that. Okay? We aren't allowing all the light and love to integrate through mankind, which helps the earth rise. She's going to change either way. Okay? So, when bigger events happen, you have to consider, is it because we are holding the false blueprint? Right? Because it is shifting. We are changing realities. Some will go, some will stay, and some will never know life this way. The earth is shifting, and we have to rise with her. Okay? We have to carry light and love. The only true currency is love, all connectedness. Not false timelines. Tesla talked about the pyramids. When I activated the pyramids, I replaced the crystals underneath them and I filled them with sun. That is our power grid. Okay? The crystalline grid is now filled with the DNA of the masculine and feminine again, because that's what I came to do, is unite them again and clear the darkness. We can no longer be duality, so you can't be choosing and focusing on the fear and rising. And I had to stop holding space for somebody because they were bringing me so far down that even I got, again, cut off my path. And I forgot to realize is that when something comes from me, it's for me to bring it into new reality, into new earth. I don't have to go to school. I have to tune in. Everything's in me. The blueprint of new earth is in me. It comes through me. So when I tell people something, it's generally to align them to their soul path. And then they will stop listening to me and they will go and they will judge me. First of all, they will make assumptions and judge me. They will allow their shadow to get very loud, and it's all false. And then without knowing it, then they go to the matrix. And they're like, well, I'm going to learn Reiki, or I'm going to learn this, because it's like, we can't do that anymore. All modalities will also be rising. They cannot be done outside of the masculine and feminine anymore. They have to be brought into the totality of the one, the sun and the moon, new earth. The feminine and masculine have returned. Okay? Love. You ever heard that saying, love is what one? So if I focus on fear or death, is that love? No. You know, my mom's dog was at the end and her soul was already leaving the body, and I'm like, I talked to her and I had to ask her permission on that level. It just happened. I could see, and I'm like, do you want to stay, or are you ready to go? And she said, I want to stay. So she came back and her body had to accept it. Her body had to process that, so she got a little sicker before she got better. But then some people go into fear and they'll put them to sleep, or they'll do things like that. I've had that happen twice on my journey now when I did a healing. And I'm like, give her a year. Give it a week and see what happens. See if there's turnaround. But they don't. They go into fear. So we have to be careful. And this is why I'm very choosy with who I do healings on, because it's very real healings. I see the totality of everything within you. So I get medical healings. I get all that. And I know I'm not a doctor. And I will tell you I'm not a doctor. I've also undid the medical matrix. It's not on YouTube because they banned it. So that whole system is false. They've stolen power and divided it. So we truly should be able to listen into our bodies. But until we can do that, I'll even tell people, go to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? But in a healing, when I bring up things and it causes fear in people, they can't receive the healing. You cut yourself off. Because it's about knowing that if I say it, we're healing it. Oh, wow. Right? Like, also looking at the proof, like, how cool is that? Because there's always proof, mind-blowing proof. And I'm like over here going, look what I just said, and look what was proven. Oh my gosh, like, does that just happen? And they're like, oh, I'm dying. And I'm like, no, you're not. We're healing it. Like, yay. You see, the perspective we've had is very limited. We have to let go of those lower vibrational things. There's a reason why when God said it's time to rise, they pushed mass amounts of fear. The fear of God, 3 days of darkness, end times prophecies, the death, right? The death heard around the world. I see some people who like channel through God. They speak the word of God, but they also speak a lot of fear. God would never have me do that. If I do anything like that, it shuts my vibration off. Matter of fact, sometimes they shut my throat off and I'm like, what am I saying? And I have to look at that, because those don't exist. God is only love. We are not separate. We have to come in to our soul alignment. We will be aligned with our soul now. There will be no more separation. And in order to do that, we have to let go of everything that is a lie. Fear, false timelines, ego, greed, judgment. We have to understand that everything is a vibration of us, because that is the keys to the universe, is vibrational frequency. The universe is within me. God is within me. And if I'm not co-creating with spirit, I've been co-creating with the shadow. It's one or the other, because you're not here alone. We have to do things in the lay of the land, through God, through the one, the sun and the moon, and the masculine and feminine. And if we can't do that, you cannot stay in New Earth. And that's not about fear, because it's up to you, my friends. Okay? So let's not focus on the death and the fear and 3 days of darkness. Oh my gosh, I need to prep. Focus on making sure you're co-creating with love, light, and your soul path. You have to be soul path aligned. That's not a maybe. That's the golden rainbow path. That's the path home. Okay, that's why in order to rise, you rise through Jesus. What I did, I'll have people throw their ego at me. It's, oh, I know I can't do without you. Sweetheart, I didn't make this up. This is not just my ego. It is the path I had to take. It is the path, the only path home. There's only one. Through the sun and the moon, through undoing all that was done and uniting the masculine and feminine again, through choosing love, because that is God. And that's not an ego thing. It's not about ego. It's being of service to God, not the shadow. All connected. So if you're rising to New Earth and you're looking to old school modalities, you're not rising, because you can't do them anymore. I'm telling you now, they will be cut off from the light if they're not brought into New Earth. And I got again pulled down in frequency. And God's like, okay, I was bringing through Reiki, which it won't be called Reiki anymore, into New Earth, and channeling new sigils, channeling how to do it, right? And putting it into my academy. And then God said hypnotherapy or hypnosis. And I'm like, oh. And at that time it was like, and I was like, I got to go to school to learn hypnosis. And I'm like, I was becoming a certified clinical, and I'm like, it didn't feel right. I couldn't talk. Like, it was never a good thing. And then recently that got cleared, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to bring that into New Earth. And then God showed me in my healing with my son, he's like, see, it's in you. I was like, oh my gosh, how did I become blinded to that? And that's because I held space for too long for somebody who wasn't rising. So we have to be careful with that. Okay? Can't be codependent. You have to let people choose to rise or not. I show the path all the time, and most people will say, oh, well, I wasn't ready, or oh, they allow fear, or all these expectations and this false things get in the way. And it's like, you don't know that you got to step in. Okay, so we need to worry about what we focus on and where our feet are going. Okay, our actions, our choices. Yeah, there is no death. And Charlie Kirk knew it was his time to go on the other side. Okay, he chose. At some level, he chose. His free will was fully intact. So at some level, he chose. Okay. So instead of focusing on that loss, we could have healed the grief, which I gave you something to do that with, for those that heard that and chose that. We could do things like come together more, because that's what we're supposed to do. We have to eliminate all separation. We're all connected, which is why if you see something in me, it's truly a reflection of you. You can't see something in somebody else that's not reflecting within you. That's vibrational frequencies. That's what we are. Okay? The reason I have density is because that's a different vibrational frequency. And when this density goes away, my vibration goes and it changes in frequency. And then we are our spiritual self. So we have to come more into alignment now with our spiritual self. Okay? Not focusing on false things. Not trying to get a financial gain off of a loss of life. To me, that didn't feel right. That was attention I wouldn't have wanted. Okay? Which is why I stopped doing missing persons. Like, I want to do one on Garth Brooks. I'm like, dude, I keep getting these things of Garth Brooks being a serial killer, and I'm like, Spirit, can I channel about that? I want to know, so I might do it just because, you know, but we can't focus on that stuff anymore. It's not about fear and death. It's about rising in light and love and unity and eliminating all separation and love being the frequency of all things. And if that is not our lens, then we had work to do. We had work to do. Okay? So this is why they're pushing this fall timelines of September 21st, September 23rd, we're going to have 3 days of darkness. God would never give you a date, my friends. Ever. I know what I did, and he never told me it's going to be on this date and it's going to be on this date. I just know it's coming, but I know we already need to be doing the work. So when, it doesn't matter. It's already here. And it has to rise through you. And I know there's urgency. But it's not about fear. It's about making sure I am disciplined and diligent in my spiritual flow. My soul flow. I see people separate soul from spirit. And there's still work to do. Like, literally would see people do that in my school, as they would go mind, body, spirit, soul. And I'm like, no, those two are the same. You can't have your soul without spirit. It's the same thing. So we have a lot of work to do. And what you focus on matters. Okay? No fear, love. You need to be working every day to heal. It takes every piece of the puzzle to become soul path aligned. You have to follow every nudge that comes in, not knowing where it's taking you, just riding the wave, being amazed, gracious receptivity. But I see people focus more on ego and greed and envy. Those are the things that got in and attacked this journey. Because when you think back time, is they wanted Eve's power. So they separated Adam and Eve. Eve was first created, and Adam was her protector and her love, right? It takes love. We have to be both. So they are equals. And they wanted that power. And the only way to get the true healing power of God through the feminine was to eliminate that connection. So they did it beginning with Adam and Eve. Then they did it with Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and also Sekhmet and Horus. But it was Adam and Eve, Sekhmet and Horus, and Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And they separated the sun and the moon. And that cut off your ability to have Christ consciousness. That's why we should be coming into a mass awakening of Christ consciousness, because the work's already been done. But you can't see past your shadow, which is why they push this cyclic blueprint of the matrix. Fear, war, division, lack, loss, separation, judgment, ego, greed, death. And they leave ripple effects throughout the collective soul, because there's a collective and an individual soul. So these things leave ripple effects in the collective soul because it pulls them down, which hurts the earth a bit. And then all this light's coming in, and it's really pulling the earth down. So we have some work to do. Okay, what can you see? What are you choosing to do? Judge? Think you know better? Think that this person's doing something they may not be doing? Like, you don't know. What are you focusing on? Are you having a hard time letting go of the old earth? Do you want to just party and stay high or in a separation stance? Because even when you smoke pot, you cannot fully heal. I used to. And God asked me to quit. And the day he asked me to, I said, okay. But it was still a battle until the Adam and Eve timeline, and we came back together at that soul level. That was the day that temptation went away. And then I processed the whole snake in the gar. Was crazy. So all of those things take your power away. And that is what we can't do. Death, fear, trauma, right? We learned to bond through trauma. The mental field actually almost rewards trauma. We become enamored in it. and meshed. And I could only hold space for so long until somebody was pulling me way down, and boy did they ever. Now I've got to bring hypnosis into New Earth. I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder it didn't feel right. I was like, geez, how? So even I can see like how somebody so much brought me out of my own path, and I couldn't see anymore for a moment. And I'm like, son of a gun, like, God dang it. I'm like, come on, DM, you know, because we're connected at the soul. I can hear him internally. I can feel him internally. And it doesn't just affect me, it affected him. And I'm like, son of my gun. And instead of getting angry, I'm just like, I'm going to send them love. Sending me love, sending them love, and knowing we are not on the same path right now. Because unless you can see clearly of all things, there's work to do. You have to be on that golden rainbow path. That is your soul path. You have to be. And I gave all these resources for everybody to see, and not only to see if they were, but to find out what steps to take. And most people, you guys, what's crazy is I can hear your thoughts. I can see your heart totality, and I know when you're judging me. I know when things are getting in. I can hear them. But what am I going to do until you see it? But then people will be like, oh, she's judging me. No, I'm not. I can see what's going on within your energy and where the shadow is wreaking havoc. So where do you give your power to the shadow? That's what matters. Okay? So what you focus on matters. Don't focus on 3 days of darkness. Focus on rising and love and joy creation, and being in balance from the heart center was so important. And that's what everybody tried to block me from, because that is when we are in full power. And that's what they undid with Adam and Eve. So it's always been about taking that power from Eve and Adam, because there's no separation. And that's what we're going back to. So until you see that rise into everybody's heads and the Christ consciousness, which is going to happen very rapidly. That's what's starting to happen. But do you see it as the fear of God? That's a lie. That's a religion blueprint. That's like poison to your soul. And even when I say that, it doesn't feel good. Okay? So I hope you gained something very important out of this video. If you listen to the totality of this video, please comment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those that actually do listen and comment are the ones I will pay attention to and do free healings on and things, especially those that donate. Somebody donated after my last, anytime that happens, donations or actually paying attention to what I say and commenting in the videos, those are who I will choose from for free healings and free messages and things like that, okay? Because it's an exchange. Until next time. What do they say? Mahalo? I don't know. I'll see you later.